Hello there, welcome to Tiny Bunny. This is a visual novel more than a game, so this is probably more of a reaction than a playthrough. And so let's just get into it. This is the first horror thing I've done on this channel, so new game. Ooh. The wind clawed at my window all night long. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices, shrill, gentle, sneery, twined in the air. They were shouting and laughing and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house had a mind of its own, the creaky old mind of a building that had seen a lot of days and was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitants. The lonely house faced the forest, and the dark green thicket glazed back with its hollow eyes, rustling, whizzing, swaying back and forth. One could come out and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves there was nobody behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just a play of light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was in my imagination. I was already 12 after all. Still. There's a wolf right there. I saw you. Right at the last minute, I saw that wolf right there. Hey, put away your book. How many times have I told you not to read at the table? It's bad for your health. Look at how slouched you are. Well, then read tall. I'm slouched. I shouldn't be so slouched. Now hide. Ooh, so it kind of is a game-ish. I interact in some ways. Okay, alright. I didn't protest and put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand reading it 3 times anyway. Olya had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She gets cookies after breakfast? Come on. She was enthusiastic. She was so enthusiastic she almost looked like your typical girl from the commercials. You're not going anywhere until you finish all of it. I, on the other hand, was still trying to drill a hole in the plate with my eyes, as if it would make the porridge disappear. Hazy anxiousness welled up inside, all because of the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house, and the gloomy wind. The longer I waited, the colder the lumpy white substance became. It looked like a jellyfish from the Kostau Odyssey. I honestly don't know what that says. Kostau Odyssey? I've never heard of that. Kostau Odyssey, insert here.
Cousteau.
I love that show. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is. Or how cold the black forest is at night. The spoon fell out of my hand. Mom showered me with a cold glare from her green eyes. What did I just say? I'll get it. I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling the nasty porridge once again. I felt around for the spoon. What is it, carved on the other side of the table? Oh, what is carved on the underside of the table? Karina. Wait, what? Karina? Oh, because it's another language. My bad. Insensitive. That's hand lotion. That wouldn't wash my mouth. Huh, that's my mom's name. I guess she carved it out with something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal with damaging the furniture like that. And now she's all, how dare you not finish your meal? And she was a bad kid herself. I mean, that's how it always is. She would scold me for a week if I did something similar, though. Should I remind her about it? No, she's been in a bit of a mood. No, she's been in a bit of a mood. Bad mood. No, she's been in a bit of a bad mood. No, she's been in a bit of a... No, she's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagined her being my age, sitting under this table. I wonder, was Mom afraid of the dark back then? Or the sounds coming from the attic? Or the thick forest? I imagined Grandma coming into my little mom's room, sitting at the edge of her bed, where Olya sleeps nowadays, and saying that this is her soft, smooth voice. Olya is his sister. Taiga is a special place, little girl. It's watching you closely, sniffing you out. I bet your grandma is the ghost, isn't she? Trying to discern what kind of beast you are. If you're a good sort, it won't abandon you in times of trouble. But if you're a bad apple, it'll grab you by the side and drag you under the ground. And that would be it. Grandma was caring. She never fought with anybody, never yelled, never swore. Those were the times without the maddening screams until late at night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. Our parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening in one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for her funeral. She had already bought a casket, and she called it her cute funeral box. That's weird, but okay. They waited for its time in the closet, patiently. It was black, upholstered with meat-colored material on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive. Only all of the photos were gone. Glass-covered pictures with gray faces of my ancestors. They all had a dead but watchful look in their eyes. I crawled out from under the table. Olya was done with her cookies. I was looking at my share as like a sly woodland critter. I turned my gaze toward the frosted window. There were a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of frost formed a picture on the glass. Like your wolfie wolf. Hi, wolf. Oh yeah, look, it's a fox. Like your wolfie wolf. Hi, wolf. Where? It almost looked like those optical illusion thingies they put on the back of student notebooks. A mixture of lines at first glance, but if you blur your vision a little bit and look under a certain angle... Not outside, on the window! Look, there's the nose. And here's... Hey, eat up! Yes, just a moment. I don't see anything. Hurry up, there's not that much left. Wow, she really wants them to finish. Ah, there it is! But it still doesn't look like one. And I'm telling you, it does. Nuh-uh. It does. Stop it, these kids, I swear. Now I couldn't see the fox either. It disappeared. Went away. The only frosty pattern similar to stretched out nettle leaves creeping up on the glass. My dad entered the kitchen with long, measured steps. I want to have a beard like his when I grow up. My mom would always ask him jokingly, "Come on, shave it off, it stings." This was so long ago. Nowadays, rumbling doors and witty comebacks were an everyday occurrence. Olya always covers her ears whenever she hears something like, "What's the point in all this?" Through the wall. "It's all for your sake," Dad would reply. "For the sake of our family." I always caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded, the deadliest word that started with a D. Divorce. D-I-V-O. I don't even want to finish it. It was scary to imagine that me and my little sister would be torn apart and taken into two different families. Anyway, your fox is nothing. I have an owl in my window. You and your owl talk again. You said you believed me just yesterday. Have anybody seen my car keys? I remember leaving them on the windowsill. Right. Maybe you did, maybe not. You're a grown man, a father of two, and still, Katrina, please stop. Just let me get ready in peace. The keys are in the basket, near the phone. Well, thank you very much. Anton, stop making a martyr of yourself and finish eating already. And the owl... There was no owl. But there was one. It had giant glowing eyes. Olya sprung up from the chair and placed her hands on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes with her fingers the size of an apple each. I think it kind of looks like this. Something like that. The owl eyes. Last year you had... Babay? I don't know what that is. In your closet. And now this owl? But I saw it! Olya shifted her gaze back and forth from Dad to Mom to me, but couldn't find any support. Have you thought about befriending it? You know, like feeding it with imaginary mice? Don't bully our little girl. She's just afraid to sleep alone because she's still little. Olya pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave his Dad a strict look. Oh, that look in her eyes, it's so uncomfortable to be pinned under it. Dad just snorted in reply and left, ringing with the keys he just found. A minute had passed and the theme song for The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. It was stored on incredibly worn-out cassette tape, which Dad already had to glue together once. Oh, man. It's so easy to fix objects, by gluing them back together, for example. But how do you fix a relationship? Mom moved to the living room, and I was left alone, anxiously stealing glances at the window. Olya had trouble sleeping ever since we moved to this house. She would toss and turn or curl into a ball under her blanket. Sometimes she would jump up in the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons helped to take her mind off all the troubles we had with the move and our parents. Jesus! Ugh, that's not a cute owl. That's a scary owl. That's a scary owl. That's not the kind of owl I was thinking. And then Olya said she saw a giant flying monster outside her window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of those ridiculous fears. Olya refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that the owl was just one of her nightmares. After tonight, I was unsure what to make of my sister's words, what to think of it myself. Can nightmares be infectious? Like the coronavirus? Just last night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep and ended up thinking of what to expect in my new school. There were a couple of days left before the beginning of a new term. My imagination drew long, twisted hallways that led to a classroom full of kids. But all the students behind their desks were simply dark figures, cut out using a template. Circular holes gaped in the middle of their faces, and pairs of eyes blinked outside the holes. It was as if some completely different creatures were looking at me from behind the flat, black silhouettes. Their cruel glares, filled with icy sneers, made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive here? Won't they gang up on me and beat me now? Stomp on me with their bloodied shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wish for anything to happen to it. Doesn't really matter what. I didn't want to go there that badly. I didn't want to see people who were just itching to smack me on the head, trip me up, think of a new offensive name for me, worse than the previous one. I felt like the glasses I wore made me an outsider and some sort of monster. My gaze slid across the drawing hanging on the walls. I couldn't consider myself a great artist, but Olya begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circle of friends I had also enjoyed my paintings. They all promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagine Mom picking up the phone and saying in a cold voice, "You've got the wrong number," or "Anton is not around." Anton is not around. I imagine my future classmates lying in their beds just like me, listening to the howls of invisible werewolves outside their windows. Maybe my new classmates will like me after all? Who would ever like a boy with thick glasses? I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet, my mom. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9th-floor concrete building, buzzed with the neighbor's drill, mumbled with a TV set from behind the wall, cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house. Jeez, the pause music is so scary. Wow. God. Our current house, though I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easy, going through the day. Its shadows lay dormant in the corners, on the closet cobwebs, under the stairs. But they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if the old photos of my deceased family, with their ashen eyes, were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. The floor was squeaking, rusty drains were moaning, the attic was occupied by noisy drafts. One could think the house was performing some kind of demonic melody. Stop! And then I realized I was in fact hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Somewhere at the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. It was mixed with the sound of the wind, of the creaking old house, and my thoughts too. I stood up and rushed to the window. I wanted to reassure myself that this music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's not like someone is playing in there amidst the cold, snowy night, right? Open the window. Someone was dancing in the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out, with the dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, basked in moonlight, bumped into piles of snow, rolled around and crawled on all floors. Stories about wolves playing under the moon came to mind, but these were all clearly not wolves. They stood upright at times, circled around holding hands and whipping up snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment, and then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Shadows dancing in the starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Suddenly the music stopped. The dancing shadows froze in place, and I could swear pierced me with their eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from the bizarre shadow carnival and sprinted across the field with giant leaps. It glided on squeaky snow without leaving any prints until it was devoured by the pitch-black shadow of my house, which became even darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like the bird inside a cage. I shut the curtains with a swift motion and stepped back toward the bed. They saw me. A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of a perfectly dark room and listened to some unwanted guests move and scrape around, looking for an entrance. The sound moved to the right, and then circled around the house. Now my guests could be at the front door. I jumped into bed and covered myself with a blanket as if it could protect me. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remember the funeral, my grandma lying there, hands crossed on her chest, her facial features sharp like that of a tin doll, ants running up and down the leg chairs that held my grandma's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up her head and pulling her eyelids with their tiny legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again move inside their sockets and she'd be able to see her grandchildren. I was chanting the spell she taught me throughout the whole procedure. And now, lying under the blanket and listening to squeaks and howls, I was repeating the same words. On the island of Buyan, underneath the blemished sun, in the sea of color blue, stands a cabin made of wood. There lay lard and ashen hair, for the spawn from Devil's Lair, to feast and always leave alone God's faithful servant named Anton. Evil leave this house must. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked from under the blanket and saw curtains waving around like a hangman. And then the night doused me with a new portion of boiling terror. The sound scratched at my eardrums. In reality, something or someone were scratching at the front door, hurriedly crawling at wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Dad had become very cautious recently, so he installed a sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the forest intently as if he was looking for someone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I hugged my knees, placing my chin between them, and drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the might of darkness. And then the doorknob twitched slightly, and it turned halfway once, twice, as if the person who tried to enter had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more, and then started clicking violently. My jaw cramped with fear. My wet fingers clutched to the blanket. The door creaked open. The wind taunted me, moaning inside the tin drains. Now you'll see. The door was wide open. The darkness writhed inside the carnivorous mouth of a doorway. Tony! It was as if the night itself was calling out to me, flapping its black wings and squeaking with rusty hinges. I was trembling and snared by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of my room, waiting for the one who weaved it to come out of the gaping black hole. Tony! My abdomen tightened and my chest rose up, ready to inhale a desperate scream. But before I was able to do anything, the darkness came to me. Tony, you asleep? My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief. Olya! I'm not sleeping. Did something happen? Olya frowned and stuck out her lower lip, a clear sign that she was about to cry. It's there again, staring at me. Shoo her away, Tony, please! I'm so scared! The fear that was tormenting me just a minute ago crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to calm Olya down. It was just a dream, silly. Don't be scared. Dreams don't bite. No one's going to harm you. Olya sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me. But was I sure myself? I have an idea. Let's go to your room and watch the video Sleeping Beauty, for example. You like that cartoon, don't you? Why does the Sleeping Beauty have a prince and I have this scary bird? That question took me by surprise. Alright, let's watch Cinderella. My thoughts became tangled, fuzzy. What was that? What studied me with its eyes while dancing feverishly under the moon? The darkness was clinging to the window, and it couldn't be fooled by Grandma's old chants. It couldn't be satisfied with a feast of lard and long ashen hair. Tony, you coming? Yes, just a moment. Jesus!
won't.